You know, what is it that makes a novel truly timeless? Well, when it comes to Alice Walker's The Color Purple, the answer is right there in its raw, powerful story about survival and about finding your voice when the whole world is trying to keep you quiet. So let's dive in and unpack what makes this book so important, even today. Right from the jump, we're plunged into the world of Celie, a young woman facing just unbelievable hardship. And her first act of survival, it's writing. These letters aren't just diary entries, they're a lifeline. They are her secret rebellion in a world that's trying to make her disappear. And you know what? The world took notice, fast. In 1983, just a year after it came out, the novel won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction. I mean, that's not just an award, that's a statement. It was the world saying, this story, this voice, is absolutely essential. Okay, so let's set the scene for Celie's journey. We're in rural Georgia, early 1900s. And this place isn't just a backdrop, not at all. It's a character in itself, where racism, sexism, and deep poverty are pressing down on every single part of life. When we first meet Celie, she's almost a ghost. She has been systematically broken down, told again and again that her thoughts, her feelings, her very existence, they just don't matter. She lives in this state of near total silence, buried under layers of trauma. And then things get even worse. She's basically given away, married off to a man she only ever calls Mr. Even that name tells you everything, right? He has all the power, and she has none. Their house is a prison, plain and simple. But here's the thing, this isn't just a story about suffering. It's about waking up. And what's so fascinating is how that change happens. It's not one big moment. It's a whole series of catalysts. Those secret letters she keeps writing, the incredible women who walk into her life, and, oh yeah, the arrival of a force of nature named Shug Avery. And that leads us right to the absolute heart of this novel. More than anything else, The Color Purple is about Celie's incredible journey from being completely voiceless to finding her own strength and speaking her own truth. Just look at this contrast. It's staggering, isn't it? The Celie we meet at the beginning of the book is a world away from the woman she becomes by the end. She goes from being a passive victim to someone who is confident, joyful, and truly in charge of her own life. So how does she get there? Well, it all starts with her writing, that secret act of resistance. From there, through her relationships, she starts to build confidence. And you can actually see it happen on the page. Her language in the letters gets stronger, sharper, which perfectly mirrors the psychological awakening that's happening inside her. Now, Celie doesn't do this alone, and this is so key. She doesn't find her voice in a vacuum. A huge part of her journey is the power of sisterhood. The bonds she forms with her actual sister and with her chosen family of women are, and I mean this literally, what saves her. And here's the crucial point. In a world that is designed to crush women, the love and support between them becomes the most powerful weapon they have. Sisterhood is the antidote to all the violence and oppression she's been forced to endure. And the biggest catalyst? Shug Avery. Shug is everything Celie has been taught a woman shouldn't be. She's independent, she's sensual, she is completely, unapologetically herself. Shug is the one who opened Celie's eyes to a whole new way of thinking about love, God, and her own work. Then there's her sister, Nettie. If Shug is the catalyst, Nettie is the anchor. Through Nettie's letters from Africa, Celie's tiny world suddenly gets a lot bigger. Nettie connects Celie's personal pain to a much larger story about history, culture, and identity. And we can't forget Sophia. Sophia is the fighter. From day one, she just refuses to be beaten down by anyone. She fights back against everything, and she represents this fierce, physical kind of resistance that Celie slowly learns to find inside herself. You know, these relationships don't just change how Celie sees herself, they change how she sees, well, everything, including God. She goes on this profound spiritual journey, moving away from the idea of some old man in the sky. Instead, she starts to find God everywhere, in people, in nature, and in the simple joy of loving the color purple. Okay, let's peel back one last layer here, because the real genius of this book isn't just what the story is, but how it's told. The very structure of the novel is part of the message. The Color Purple is what literature folks call an epistolary novel. So what does that mean? It just means the whole story is told through letters, Celie's letters to God, and then the letters that go back and forth between her and Nettie.
This isn't just a gimmick, it's essential to the whole idea of finding a voice. And this is where Alice Walker is just brilliant. In the beginning, Celie's letters sound broken, uneducated, because that's what her life has made her. But as she gets stronger, as she learns more about herself and the world, her writing gets richer, more complex. The way she writes literally maps her path to freedom. So finally, let's zoom out and talk about the book's legacy. Because when this novel came out, it was a massive cultural event, and not everyone was happy about it. You really have these two extremes happening at the same time. On the one hand, critics adored it. I mean, it won the Pulitzer. But on the other hand, it kicked up a huge storm of public controversy. So where did all that controversy come from? Well, a lot of it was about its honest and sometimes brutal portrayal of abuse by some of the Black male characters. That started some very difficult but necessary conversations. And at the same time, its frank exploration of female sexuality and love between women was truly groundbreaking for its time. But for all the debate, the book's real message has endured. It's a tough read for sure, but ultimately it is a deeply, profoundly life-affirming story about healing, about surviving the unthinkable, and about the slow, hard, but beautiful journey of learning to love yourself. And that journey leaves us with a really powerful question. The whole novel shows us that finding our voice is the key to our own freedom. So the question for us is, if your voice is your power, how do you learn to use it?